When I was 4, my father got offered a job to work for the United Nations in Arusha, Tanzania. We lived there for about 2.5 years before we moved back to the US. The biggest reason we left was because we didn't trust the healthcare to keep us safe. Back then, I wasn't entirely sure why we left. It was definitely one of the greatest experiences of my life, and we were happy, so why did we leave? Now looking back, I understand more. Over the course of our stay there, I managed to gash a hole in the side of my cheek after falling off a couch. My parents frantically rushed me to a clinic, only to find out the stitches the clinic wanted to use were meant for an adult's knee and not a child's face. My mom had brought her own, but the doctors refused to use them. In desperation, my parents called up a friend of ours who was a doctor, and he stitched me up on his dining room table. That sort of thing is ridiculous compared to the standards of developed countries. Almost no one in Tanzania would have access to a friend that is a doctor, and a majority of people wouldn't even know where a clinic was. Access to adequate medical care and the ability to prevent disease is a basic human right that is not attainable to far too many Tanzanians. Arguably, the biggest health problem in Tanzania is malaria. Although there are many groups such as PMI or the President's Malaria Initiative pushing to fix this problem, just last year over 80,000 people died malaria-related deaths, and there were over 11 million cases. My mother got malaria while we were there, but because we had enough money to buy the cure, she recovered within a couple of weeks. Most Tanzanians can't afford the cure. My goal is to help the people of Tanzania by providing them with access to treated mosquito nets throughout the country. What could help raise this money? I thought back to when I lived there. One of my favorite things we did was go on safaris to see the animals. In fact, that is why most people visit Tanzania. It is famed for its national parks like the Serengeti and Ngorongoro Crater. That got me thinking that Tanzania's #1 industry could have fundraising opportunities. My idea is to have an agreement with a safari company so that when tourists book a safari, the company asks if the tourist would like to make a donation to help fight malaria. It can be offered when the trip is booked. The safari company's guides could also ask for a donation during the safari and talk about the hardships their family may have endured from malaria. The tourists would buy the mosquito nets through the safari company, and the company would distribute them. The donation could be small, as in 1 or 2 mosquito nets, but maybe some people who feel generous donate 25 or 50 mosquito nets. Then those nets are distributed to villages in need of them. There are over 400 safari companies based out of Arusha alone, and this idea can be proposed to all of them. Even if only half agreed to this, the amount of mosquito nets that could be paid for would be high. This idea could grow into Kenya and other parts of malaria-ridden Africa. I reached out to Club Africo, an Arusha safari company, about if my idea was feasible. The person I spoke to was very enthusiastic about the prospect of helping people, said that the idea could work well, and that the safari guides could really get behind it. There has been a concerted effort to increase Tanzania's level of health education in the healthcare system, but ultimately, more needs to be done to add on to the work other organizations are doing. The doctor who stitched me up is the founder of one such organization. His name is Frank Artress, and he, along with his wife Susan, founded the nonprofit organization FAME. This organization has been working in Tanzania since 2002 and has its own clinic in Karatu, Tanzania, a mobile outreach program, and more. What they created and accomplished is incredible, and I would love to one day have that type of impact. I have to say that my interest in becoming a global citizen stems from my stint in Africa. Although I was young, the experience has shaped my point of view and has been a key factor in becoming involved in human rights. This year at my high school, I started an Amnesty International chapter and will be embarking on a service trip to the Dominican Republic through EF Tours. I continue to seek out opportunities to help make a difference in any way I can. Essentially, I think this idea could make that difference, and is really a great way to provide the people who visit Tanzania to experience its culture and wildlife a chance to give back to the country.